All right. Hello again. Again, my name's Drew. You guys can call me Drew. This video is about gang stalking, targeted individuals, remote neural monitoring, voice to skull. I use those terms to identify because those are the most widely used. So in this video, I want to actually talk about gang stalking, physical gang stalking. Uh, I think the difference. I don't really want to go into detail about theories on it. I want to keep this to my experience. And I think that's important to me and maybe others because this is actually stuff that happened to me. Um, so uh, I first started noticing this was happening to me in 2014. I'm from Kansas, but I've lived all over the place. Um, and so this first started happening to me in 2014. Um, I lived in the Seattle area for a little while. This is around 2009, 2010, 2011, where I relocated up there. Um, and I just want to say this off the bat. I have struggled with drugs and alcohol in my life, and I have used some pretty hardcore drugs. Never super consistently, but I have done some pretty hardcore drugs. Um, and there's a common theme with targeted individuals. A lot of them, or most of them, I would say almost all of them. There's one common theme: there's no financial resources. They have no financial resources. They have done drugs and alcohol, or they're involved with some other activity that will discredit them. And so these are the reasons that they're doing these experiments on those people. There are targeted individuals, or at least they claim to be, that do have money and stuff. But I don't really know how authentic it is. But all the TIs I talk to are homeless, destitute, um, don't have anything, and it's because they're discredited. If I've ever done, let's say, methamphetamine before in my life, and I go to the authorities and I say, "Hey, listen, I'm hearing these voices through the wall. There's people talking to me." It doesn't matter what you say. Trust me, I've done it before. They will automatically put you into some psych unit. You get you on medication. Uh, so this is what happens. Um, anyways, this is 2014. I relocated to Seattle, Washington. I got involved with some wrong people. Just doing some drugs, just kind of really being an idiot, just kind of wasting my life. Decided to steal some things that weren't mine. Got in trouble for it. Almost went to prison. Um, and so I kind of went after that. Finished up my probation. Then I went on this um, traveling around the United States thing. I'd go to city, kind of literally like a hobo, just going from city to city, working a couple weeks, going to another city, working a couple weeks, going to another city, working a couple weeks. And so I went to Santa Rosa, California, uh, and this is when I really first started noticing the actual gang stalking. So I went to actually before Santa Rosa, I was in San Francisco. It took a Greyhound up to the Triangle, Humboldt County. For those who know about Triangle, I went to Eureka, California, and that place was a mess. I thought it was going to be all hippies and rainbows, and it's not all that up there. There's a lot of stuff going on up there, well, just like anywhere else, but it's unique. It's a unique kind of crazy up there, and I noticed people started following me up there. I would staying in this hotel, staying at the shelter for a little bit. I would come outside. People were blinking their lights at me. And I was like, huh. So my thought process was, well, these people just want me out of town. It's a bunch of weed growers that are just like, who's the new guy? Get the fuck out of here kind of thing. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to get the fuck out of here. So I went down to Santa Rosa, which isn't far. I found a ride share, went down there, and then it was happening there. Except it was more aggressive. It was like these really gang looking dudes. And I would get out of work, and there is people staring at me and stuff. Sunglasses. They like to do the sunglasses, and that's a common theme with other TIs too. I've heard the sunglasses type of thing, and I'm like, whoa, dude. I'm like, so I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm not from here, but like, I'm not involved with anything to this extent. Like, where people, this is like something where like if you owe money, just or something, you know what I mean? Like if you've like got some gambling debt, or I don't know, like, you got fronted some drugs and type shit, and people were after you or something. And I was just like, man, or mistaken identity or something. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, why is how does everybody know about me? When I go in somewhere at my job, somebody would come in and they would like sit there and stare at me because I used to cook food at this restaurant. And they would come in at the bar where I was doing prep and shit, and they would like look at me and shit, and I'd see them like texting on their phone and like taking pictures and shit, even that kind of shit. Um, I'm like, man, what the fuck is going on? And so I got back on a bus, and I'm like, man, I called my dad, and my dad lives in Kansas City, and I got back on a bus, and I didn't really know what was happening at the time. I thought just, you know, stuff was happening to me. And so I get back to I move in, my father lets me move back into his apartment in Kansas City, and it starts happening there. So literally, people were doing the same thing, like following me around. And this is a small town, North Kansas City. This isn't like downtown Kansas City. So it's actually Platte City, Missouri, which is one of the safest towns in Missouri. It's kind of a, middle class, upper class place. And I'm like, man, if this is happening here, and then something's really going on. And like everybody knew about me. Like I would go into like a restaurant, and like they all were, it's like there was a slander campaign. Like I would go into a restaurant, and like people would be looking at me like, like stuff like that. And I didn't know what was going on at the time, but later did I know that they actually do this via social media or just whatever. They'll say anything about your name, like you're a pedophile is one they like to do because it strikes nerve with everybody, and rightfully so. That's not tolerated. They'll say you're a Democrat, you're a Republican. They'll say anything. Like if somebody's like a feminist, they'll say, well, that person hates women and he abuses women or something. Anything. They'll say anything to this. I mean, it's total trickery. Anything for them to hate you. Like that person, they've told people that I stole a bunch of money. One time I had a bunch of perps follow me around one time, saying that, when are you going to pay the money back or something like that? Like I just stole a bunch of money or something from an old lady or something. I have no fucking idea. So anyways, that started to happen. And I'm just going to hit the fast forward button. There was about 10 years where I just moved around from city to city. I went all the way from the East Coast to the West Coast, to up north to down south, just trying to get away from this. And you can't get away from it once you're in this program. There are other people placed, and they will use people in the community. This is a well thought out, orchestrated, premeditated program. And the reason I believe it is the government is because it's too organized. It is way too organized. And this is not just even the voice to skull or remote neural monitoring. This is just the actual Gangstalking. This is way too organized. This is well thought out, and this is happening to other people. So when you go to a new city and it's happening to you, or a new town, you're just another person it's happening to. I mean, there's perps that do this to all kinds of other people too. So they're just literally you're being passed on to the next group of perps. And I know that's hard to believe, but that's unfortunately the reality of it. So I'm going to give a few other specific examples of what's happened to me, and then I'm going to start talking about the actual voice to skull and remote neural monitoring. I can never say that right. So I'll see you on the next video.